We made 3 big signings in the last episode of our realistic MLS career mode. Szymon Żuchowski and Boris Tomiak arrived to provide a little more defensive cover, whilst Naki Wells is going to provide us with a bit more depth behind Vrioni up front. And whilst none of them have truly stood out so far, there'll be plenty of opportunities to prove that they were worth the investment as we approach the end of the season. We have just 10 games left to secure one of 7 playoff places in the Eastern Conference of the MLS, and we'll be getting to 5 of those today, opening and closing the episode with a game against CF Montreal. We'll start out with highlights of our away fixture against the Canadian side. We'll be simulating this game against Real Salt Lake. St. Louis City will be our featured game of the episode, so you'll see that in full before we round things out with highlights of our game against Orlando City, and we will be simulating the final game against Montreal. Montreal will line up in the 3-4-1-2 formation, so our modified 4-2-3-1 should be a perfect counter to that. Tomiak and Żuchowski continue to maintain places in the starting 11, whilst Naki Wells again finds a place on the bench. This was another wild one. It seems like every game we play at the moment is a wild one, but 15 minutes in, Carlos Gil got the party started. He tucked a shot neatly away past the Montreal goalkeeper to make it 1-0. 2 minutes later, however, Phil Neumann gave away a penalty, which Montreal dispatched. A decent effort from Tyler Dean to get there, but with a penalty like that, the amount of pace on it, you're never going to reach it. Took only 10 minutes for Carles Gil to grab another goal to re-establish our lead. This was a really nicely worked goal down the right-hand side. Rodriguez finding Vrioni, slipping it aside to Carles Gil, and then Thomas Chonkalai actually extended the lead about half an hour into the game, bursting through into the penalty area and dispatching a really composed finish, just lifting the ball over the outspread arms of the Montreal goalkeeper. And we looked home and dry in the second half when Leonard Maloney found the ball at his feet and tucked it away to make it 4-1. Montreal were really poor up to this point. They were one of the worst sides that we've faced this season, and 4-1 was a perfectly fair scoreline. But of course, as we approached the end of the game, we couldn't help but concede a couple more goals. Phil Neumann again at fault for this one, trying to pass the ball across the back line to Tomiak, gave it straight to Montreal, and Apoku again tucked it past Tyler Dean. And Apoku gave us a scare late in the game. About 5 minutes from time, he found a little bit of space in the box, fired across Tyler Dean, and his shot ended up going in off the far post. It was a really good finish to make it 4-3. Unfortunately, that is how the game ended. It was a really good performance for the first hour or so. Took our eye off the ball a little bit in the last half an hour and allowed Montreal to grab a couple of goals back, but Carles Gil, the captain, certainly led from the front. A really good 2-goal performance from him. And that does bring us to our second game of the episode against Real Salt Lake, and upon the recommendation of a handful of viewers, I'll be slow simming this one instead of quick simming. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has made a couple of changes to his 11. Phil Neumann at fault for a couple of the goals in the last game comes out to be replaced by Kessler. Nacho Gil comes in on the right-hand side as well. Rodriguez moves up front to replace Vrioni. But unfortunately, it was a pretty lackluster performance. We had plenty of possession, but couldn't really do anything with it. Just the one real chance in the game. Real Salt Lake had 4, and it's going to be point shared, a 0-0 draw. And although we are still poised on the periphery of the playoffs in 7th position, with a 4-point lead over 8th place Montreal and a game in hand, we have a real opportunity to secure that spot if we can finish the episode strong. And that all starts here with our next game against St. Louis City. They find themselves in a spotty run of form. 3 losses, 2 wins over the course of the last 5 games. They will set up in a 4-2-3-1 wide formation. I don't recognize, I think, any of their players. Potentially Berkey, the goalkeeper, and Vasilev, the right winger, rings a bell. As for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's 11, he's going back to the 4-2-4 for this one. So Tyler Dean starts in goal, a back 4 of Brandon Bai, Phil Neumann, Liam Kessler, and Dewan Jones. Leonard Maloney pairs again with Żuchowski in midfield because Carles Gil has been pushed out to the left-hand side. Thomas Chonkalai moves over to the right. It's going to be Vrioni and Rodriguez up front. So without further ado, let's head over to Gillette Stadium and see if we can extend that lead over Montreal, really secure that final place in the playoffs. So back up in the commentary box at Gillette Stadium for a big matchup here late in the season. We really could use 3 points. Hanging on to that 7th and final playoff place by the skin of our teeth at the moment. We have managed to establish a 4-point lead over Montreal, however. And we have an opportunity to extend that lead immediately through Rodriguez. What a save! What a save by the Montreal goalkeeper. One of the few names that I feel like I recognise on the team sheet. But we have seen immediately the reason why we have gone out in this 4-2-4 formation. So much space down the wing. Montreal. I've called them Montreal like 6 times already in this episode. We're not playing Montreal. We are playing St. Louis City. Montreal was the game that I played last. You saw the highlights of it, of course. As Carlos Hill puts in the corner. Leonard Maloney with the header. Another fantastic save. And already we are putting St. Louis under pressure. But already the goalkeeper has made a couple of spectacular saves. Look at that water flying off his gloves. And I have noticed in the top left, Phil Neumann has picked up an injury. And Kessler in there trying to win the header. I'm not sure of the nature of Neumann's injury, whether it's going to be one that lingers. Another save. Zukovsky this time in the box, turning the ball toward goal. And already we've had 3 incredible opportunities to open the scoring. And if St. Louis found themselves 3-0 down within 5 minutes, I don't think they could have complained too much. There is Neumann labouring with that injury. He had a very poor game last time out against Montreal. Was at fault for 2 of the goals, I would say. As Tyler Dean looks down the full length of the field and says to the St. Louis goalkeeper, whatever you can do, I can do better. He makes a great save of his own, diving away to his left-hand side. And what a back and forth this game this has been in the opening 7 or 8 minutes or so. Every game in this particular save does seem to be very high scoring. When I play other modes, or even when I use other teams in career mode, I don't have games anywhere near as high scoring as I do in this particular save. So I don't think it's a slider thing. I think it's more of a tactics thing. We have 2 very aggressive systems, and the teams that we play tend to be fairly aggressive as well. Frioni, surely. Another unbelievable save. 10 minutes into the game, and I think there's been, what, 5 incredible saves? 4 of which are from Berkey. But we are seeing here just the open, expansive nature of the MLS. Rodriguez blocked this time. Maloney on the edge of the box holds it up. He turns and gets a shot away. Again blocked. Zukovsky tries to lift it into the path of, I think, Thomas Chonkolai, who has also picked up an injury. Brandon Byer will toss it into the box towards Frioni. Nods it down to Zukovsky. Takes it down on his chest. Turns it towards goal. Again saved by Berkey. What an opening 13 minutes to the game. We must have, what, 5, 6, maybe 7 shots on target? Good idea from Frioni to drop it in behind for Rodriguez to run onto. Didn't quite execute it to perfection, though, and it didn't need to be to perfection. And it's actually Carles Heel out on the left-hand side today, isn't it? Chonkolai out on the right. So it would be Carles Heel who is nursing an injury. Nicely worked between Chonkolai and Zukovsky, though. We need Frioni to make a run to that back post. He simply didn't. Can Dewan Jones reach it? Yes, he can. Delivers once more. Frioni can't win the header. Carles Heel can't knock it down to Frioni either. But Zukovsky retains possession. Brandon Byer on the right-hand side just drops it into the path of Chonkolai. And we're going to have to slow things down just a little here as Kessler now has picked up an injury. Phil Neumann has managed to run his off. But Kessler now the one carrying a knock. And a rash challenge from St. Louis goes unpunished. It's a booking, ref. Come on, let's be honest. That's a booking all day long. He's late. It's from behind. He's nowhere close to the ball. How that isn't a booking, I don't know. Nice little turn from Zukovsky. We're seeing him kind of in full today. We have, of course, seen him in highlights so far, but his first opportunity to really make a name for himself in a featured game. Tomiak doesn't get the same opportunity today. He is not match fit at the moment. Naki Wells is again on the bench. I don't think he's going to be starting many games for us, Naki Wells. But I think he's going to be making several appearances off the bench. Kyle Seal, thankfully, has also run off his injury. Fantastic game for him against Montreal. And he picks up the ball here with Rodriguez on the edge of the box. Instead, cuts it inside to try and take it himself, but just eased off the ball by the St. Louis defender. I think it was a particularly good performance for Kyle Seal against Montreal because we played that 4-2-3-1 formation, and he does have so much more freedom in that number 10 role with Maloney and Zukovsky behind him. And we did really see that against Montreal. He was able to get forward, to really dictate the play, to get himself into, you know, some attacking, goal-scoring situations without having to worry about getting back to cover defensively. The game has slowed down a little bit now. I mean, it couldn't possibly have kept that frantic pace of the opening 15 minutes for the full 90. So we knew at some point it would slow down. Brandon Bai just trying to drop it in behind for Chonkalai to chase. And Zukovsky spreads wide instead to Carles Seal. St. Louis sitting back a little bit now. Being a little bit more reserved in their approach. And that will give us the opportunity to dictate the play slightly more. And build up from the back in a slightly more reserved and methodical fashion. Of course, St. Louis will have the opportunity to do the same if they are committing fewer players forward. But we will continue to press. That is something we like to do in this 4-2-4 formation. And I think today, to be fair, I said we really could use 3 points, and of course we could. But I think if we just avoid losing here today, I think even that would be a good result. Because we do already have a 4-point lead over Montreal in 8th position. And so if we could just add one more point to the board with that game in hand that we have, then, you know, level on games played, but with a 5-point advantage. I like the position that we would find ourselves in a lot. Obviously, we're going to try and win this game because we would much rather have a 7-point advantage level on games. About half an hour into the game, things have slowed down. Fewer opportunities in the last 10 minutes or so. St. Louis tried to create one here, though. Excellent defending by Brandon Bai, however. And just cleared away to safety by Tyler Dean. He's been a little bit more consistent in recent weeks, Tyler Dean. We saw flashes of brilliance from him through the opening sort of 5 or 10 games. But we saw moments of real disappointment as well. Those have been fewer and further between for Tyler Dean. Good block by Neumann. Rodriguez. Can he use his pace to really test St. Louis on the counter-attack? He gives the ball straight back, so the answer is no. Yarrow for St. Louis spreads it wide right. Carles Hill dropping in to try and provide Juwan Jones with a bit of cover defensively. Instead, we're having to rely on Liam Kessler to make the challenge. And then eventually, Thomas Chonkalai stealing the ball away in the box. Not sure what he's doing in that particular position. And of course, he is now completely absent on this right-hand side. Brandon Bai, however, is not. Good feet from Brandon Bai just to skip away from trouble. But we do just have to go backwards. Duan Jones. Chance to drive at St. Louis for really the first time. He hasn't got forward on too many occasions so far today. Duan Jones. Nicely worked back into the feet of Leonard Maloney. Can he find Zukovsky? Yes, he can. Zukovsky in turn looks for Vrioni. But dealt with well by St. Louis. And that's I was going to say really good challenge. It's actually a challenge that earns Leonard Maloney a yellow card. It looked initially as though he was just going to slide across and ease the ball out of play. But instead, he took the St. Louis man to the ground. And I think, to be fair, the St. Louis man was out of play as well as the ball. So it was a challenge that Maloney ultimately didn't need to make, really. Good defending by Duan Jones. Did well just to hold his position. Couldn't take the ball away, however. Liam Kessler coming across to attempt the same. Palaciel also dropping in defensively. And good work by the three of them in that defensive third. And just 1 minute of additional time to be played. As we see Bernardo Silva to Paris Saint-Germain in this summer transfer window. Summer transfer window, of course, the halfway point for the MLS. But, of course, the transfer window that occurs at the beginning of the season for clubs in Europe. But the referee's halftime whistle does go. It was a frantic start to the game. 15 minutes, and those opening 15 minutes contained really all of the opportunities that either team have had. And the preceding half an hour was far more reserved and far more contested. A much more closed game in the second half of the first period. But we've dominated possession, 60% to 40. We have had more opportunities, more passes. We're dominating the game, essentially, is what the match facts show. So let's continue to try and do that into the second half, and surely we can make the pressure tell. So back out for the second half here against St. Louis. And as we said in the first, we just want to make sure that we don't lose this game. A win would obviously be ideal. However, I think we play a little more conservatively and just ensure that we at the very least get the draw, rather than push too hard in this second half to try and grab all 3 points. We are in a relatively comfortable position, even though we find ourselves in 7th, even though we do just have, you know, a fairly tentative grasp on that final playoff place. Or what seems to be a relatively tentative grasp on a playoff place, because we are in 7th, but it's a little more comfortable than it seems, because you do have the game in hand. We do have the 4-point advantage over the team closest to us. Rodriguez skips away from one, and is going to drive down this left-hand side. He's got an abundance of pace to burn, and he's just going to loft the ball into the box in search of Vrioni. And the second half has begun just as the first did, with a fantastic opportunity for us to take the lead in the game. Again, we are unable to do so. Again, that is thanks to the St. Louis goalkeeper. Cleared away from the corner. Maloney brings it down in the box. Just finds Kessler. He finds Duan Jones. He lofts it into the box in search of Rodriguez. And if he is onside... Okay, he wasn't. Fair enough. The linesman's flag spares Rodriguez's blushes. He was about a yard offside. I thought it looked closer than that. But how he didn't even get that on target, I don't know. If the linesman's flag would have stayed down there, the New England fans would have been furious with Rodriguez. Can we make a decision, please? Somebody go and collect the ball. It looked like Tyler Dean wanted a piece of it for a moment. Dewan Jones and perhaps even Zukovsky back there. Couldn't decide between them either. And Rodriguez is again offside. Again, he doesn't get the attempt on target. That one was much more clear. The last one was about a yard. This one must have been about 3. An additional yard, I would say. Decent enough start to the second half, though. It's promising. We are still causing St. Louis some real problems. And Dewan Jones can't quite bring that in. If he could have brought the ball under control there, I think it would have been another problem for St. Louis, because we had 2 players in the box and we would have had Dewan Jones in a position to cross. Chonkalai, can he win it back? It's good pressing, but not quite. Good defending by Phil Neumann. It looked initially as though he had been beaten, but he did well just to recover. Brandon Bai tries to lay it into the path of Chonkalai, gets it all wrong. And when Vrioni pressing high, almost steals the ball away. Instead, St. Louis attack down our right-hand side, their left. Cut inside, where Phil Neumann has to move across to address the issue. And it's a comfortable save in the end for Tyler Dean. And Dewan Jones is going to get a quick counter-attack going on this left-hand side. I thought for some reason that the play had stopped. I didn't think that had gone out of play, but I swear for a moment the player names at the bottom of the screen disappeared, as they do when the ball goes out for a throw-in or a corner. But it is no decision. Play continues. And Chonkalai can't quite find Rodriguez in the box. Well won in midfield by Leonard Maloney, though. And again, it is all New England in this second half. Good ball into the feet of Chonkalai, but again, just couldn't quite bring it under control to find another New England shirt. And like with Dewan Jones just moments ago, if Chonkalai could have brought that under control, we would have had an opportunity to cause a real problem for St. Louis there. St. Louis it is, though, with the ball at their feet. And with the opening goal of the game in their sights. Good defending from Brandon Bai just to stand the St. Louis attack up inside the box. And it's a shot from range that's parried away by Tyler Dean. And Neumann does well just to carry the ball away and find Brandon Bai. Leonard Maloney finds Rodriguez. Zukovsky into the box. And the linesman's flag goes up once more. Zukovsky just bringing the ball under control, preparing to strike towards goal. And again, just offside. That one must have been close. St. Louis making a change. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to do the same. So 2 changes at this stage for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Thomas Chonkalai to come off. He's replaced by Bobby Wood. Leonard Maloney, currently on a booking, is replaced by Bayrak Tarevic. So taking a bit of a gamble in midfield. Bobby Wood, do not blow the whistle, ref. And Bobby Wood misses. Had the goal at his mercy. Had so much time, too much time maybe. And puts it past the post. Bobby Wood set to join FC Cincinnati after the season. Playing what surely is going to be one of his final games for New England. With the addition of Naki Wells, it's unclear how much Bobby Wood is going to feature over the remaining games in the season. He had an opportunity to wave goodbye to the New England fans with a goal, and he puts it wide. The chances that we've missed today Absolutely criminal. Some have been incredible saves by the St. Louis goalkeeper. Some, like that, have been just really poor, uncomposed finishing by Aktarevic. Bobby Wood with a chance to make amends. Can't win the header. There's been a slight reshuffle as well with those changes. Rodriguez has moved out to the right-hand side. Zukovsky is now playing CDM. And St. Louis are away on their left-hand side once more. Brandon Bai back in a good position to defend, however. Puts the ball out for a corner, which Vasilev will take. Let's just make sure we at least defend well for the remaining 15-20 minutes of the game. St. Louis, Aktarevic in a defensive position now, as well as, again, Brandon Bai. Frioni also dropping in to provide a bit of additional cover.
Congratulations to today's lucky fan of the match.
St. Louis continue down their left-hand side, though. We're unable to win the ball back at this stage. Good positional defensive work, though. We are just holding St. Louis off. And it's a good block in the end. And that needs to go. And it does. Aktarevic with a risky challenge. Referee's whistle does not sound, though. He's determined that Aktarevic got the ball. And Carlos Gil steals the ball away. Doesn't have anywhere close to the pace of Chonkalai or Rodriguez. And St. Louis do immediately win the ball back. Somebody's got to put a foot in here. Phil Neumann instead just stands the St. Louis player up on the edge of the box. Eventually gives away a free kick in a dangerous area. Fortunately, the wall stands strong. Good challenge from St. Louis. Brandon Bai's picked up an injury from it, but it seemed fair. I'm pretty sure he got the ball. Referee certainly thinks so. And St. Louis look the more likely team to score in these final stages of the game. Good block, though. Zukovsky can't head clear. Instead, heads straight into the feet of a St. Louis man. And that's a poor pass, Carlos Gil. We have an opportunity to break there, to relieve this pressure that St. Louis are building. And Carlos Gil completely squanders the opportunity. Could have just found the feet of Bobby Wood. Could have got the ball up the field. Frioni with a chance now to do that. Breaks away on the right-hand side. He's not exactly full of energy, Frioni. And all he can do is carry the ball into the St. Louis final third and give it away. I think we're going to need to make a couple more changes next time we have the opportunity, because we could really use some fresh legs for these last 10 minutes or so. We could do with an injection of pace as well from the bench. I'm not sure we really have that. We do have Bulmer on the bench, who may well make an appearance for the last 5 minutes or so. First, though, priority one is ensure we don't concede here, and it's a really good challenge from Aktarevic. Frioni with a run in behind. Can he get there? Absolutely shattered on his last legs, Frioni, but indeed he does get there. Just tries to put the ball into the box. Instead, it's blocked by St. Louis and out for a goal kick. How on earth is that a goal kick? Absolutely outrageous decision by the linesman. Solskjaer will make a final change or two for these last 5 minutes, though. So 2 more changes as we enter the final moments of the game. Giacomo Frioni is putting a shift today. Hasn't managed to make too much of a difference, but he has run himself ragged. He makes way to be replaced by Bulmer. And in the closing stages of the game here, Nick Lima also comes on to replace Duane Jones, by the way. In the final stages of the game, St. Louis have had 80% possession. So really dominant 10 or 15 minutes. And we are doing well to hold on to this 0-0 draw at the moment. We've said a couple of times today a win would be lovely, but a draw would be acceptable. And we're not even going to get that. Yarrow wins a header in the box. Loops over the sprawling body of Tyler Dean and into the far corner. And St. Louis do make their relentless pressure tell. 80% possession in the last 15 minutes. The goal has been coming. How has he won that? Sandwiched in between two players. All right, it is Bayraktarevic and Brandon Bai. And Tyler Dean must have been so close to getting at least fingertips on that. Absolutely devastating way to finish the game. 89th minute. And we're just going to have to go ultra attacking and just try and grab a late equaliser here. That's awful. That's awful from Rodriguez. When we need a goal, he gives the ball straight to St. Louis, who double their lead. Absolutely disastrous 2 minutes. Rodriguez, opportunity to drive at St. Louis, gives the ball straight to them. Tyler Dean does get fingertips to this one. It's not enough to keep it out though. And that's going to be the game. I mean, we have to press for a goal here in the final stages, but it's going to be only a consolation even if we get one. And it doesn't even look like we will. I think Phil Neumann has been credited with an own goal there. Not really sure how that would be the case, because I'm pretty sure it was Tyler Dean's hand that forced the ball into the back of the net. I don't think Phil Neumann really got anywhere close to the ball. Cleared away by St. Louis. And the referee's final whistle does go. And it's a 2-0 defeat. We had a point 89 minutes into the game. Instead, we come away with a 2-0 loss. Boos sound around Gillette Stadium. Home fans not pleased at all with the way that that game finished, and you can understand why. But we certainly had our opportunities to score multiple times throughout the game and to take all 3 points ourselves. Maybe that's what the home fans were so disappointed about. Maybe that's why they were making their voices heard at the end. The failure of the likes of Rodriguez and Bobby Wood to put away some clear and almost simple opportunities, and we just can't seem to take that final step. Every time we're presented with an opportunity to really secure ourselves as a playoff team, we squander it. 2 final games to get to though. Highlights of our matchup away against Orlando City, and then we'll sim this game against Montreal to round things out. 2 more opportunities to put 3 points on the board, and we are extremely close to the end of the season, but we do need to pay attention to that manager rating in the top left corner, because at the moment it's looking like we may not even make it to the end of season 1. We were supposed to make the round of 16 in the US Open Cup. Of course, we got knocked out at the first possible opportunity, and in the MLS we're supposed to be reaching the playoff semi-finals. Currently it's only just looking as if we're going to make the playoffs at all. So you can understand why the board aren't particularly happy with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But a great opportunity to bump that manager rating up just a little bit here against Orlando. We are again going to go with the 4-2-4 formation. A couple of changes as Lima comes in at right back. Tomiak returns to the back 4 alongside Kessler. Carles Hill returns to centre midfield. Nacho out on the right-hand side. Josh Bolmer gets the start today at left wing. And Naki Wells starts up front alongside Luciano Rodriguez. Unfortunately, this was a tougher game than we were anticipating. Orlando causing us problems early on. Tyler Dean parrying this shot away about 15 minutes in, away to the left-hand side. And he kept us in the game moments later as Orlando again created another good opportunity, this time inside the penalty area. And although Orlando had the better of the first half, Luciano Rodriguez again found himself poised to open the scoring, but just as he did earlier in the episode, he couldn't find the target with his shot. ended up flashing wide. And in the second half, Bobby Wood came on and looked bright, but like Rodriguez, he couldn't find the target with his shot. And that gave Orlando the opportunity to break away down the right-hand side about an hour into the game and take the lead. The header looping over Tyler Dean. I think we are starting to see the disadvantages of having a 6'1" goalkeeper. We struggled to cause Orlando too many difficulties in the second half, and just as it looked as though we were going to be able to steal a win, Josh Bulmer completely in on goal. The linesman's flag stayed down. He put it wide. So really not the result or the performance that we were looking to put in against Orlando. It was an excellent opportunity to put 3 points on the board and again establish ourselves in the playoff positions, but we just keep failing to take these opportunities when they are presented to us. And that means if we don't get a good result here in our final game of the episode against Montreal, then we're going to have given up that lead that we managed to establish. But again, we failed to take advantage of the possession that we've had in simulation. And we end up losing 2-0 to Montreal. And with Montreal hot on our tail in 8th position and 2 straight losses, that really could be a turning point in our season. And it does mean that Montreal leapfrog us up into the playoff places, 2 points ahead of us now, level on games. So we've completely given up our 4-point advantage as well as our game in hand. And we have just one episode left of the regular season to turn the tables. We are going to be taking on Charlotte FC, Nashville in the next episode, as well as Houston, DC, and we'll be finishing the season against Inter Miami. So do we have enough to get over the line and scrape our way narrowly into the playoffs, or is it going to be one and done for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in New England? We will find out in the next and last episode of the regular season. I hope to see you there. Take it easy.